robot better half is being plugged in and configured. So I'm Ben Gertzel, the CEO of SingularityNet, and as I noted in the last panel, for those of you who were here, I'm originally from the AI space. I've been working on AI in various forms since 1980s, far before it was as popular as AI has become now. And I've also been interested in metaverses and virtual worlds for at least that long. I mean, ever since I started reading science fiction in the early 1970s. I mean, you had virtual worlds. They weren't calling them metaverses yet then, but you had 3D virtual worlds where people and AIs were romping around, and you had humanoid robots. You had all nanotechnology. I mean, all these ideas, which are now being realized bit by bit in real technologies, have been around in concept for a long time, and we're in the phase of bringing these things into reality. So what I'm going to talk about today is the intersection of a number of technologies that were fairly science fictional when I started my life, and even when I started my career, like humanoid robots, online metaverses and AIs of various sorts, and we're now in the process of making all these things real, which is pretty exciting. So the topic of this talk actually was inspired by a story by the science fiction writer Philip K. Dick, and the story was called "How to Build a World That Doesn't Fall Apart 2 Days Later." Which actually, if you read that essay by Philip K. Dick, the essay has absolutely nothing to do with that title. He's just rambling on all sorts of other weird, cool stuff. But so I figured it made sense then to use that as a title for my talk, and then give a talk that has nothing to do with that title either. Sort of in the spirit of Philip K. Dick, who a common enthusiasm for the work of Philip K. Dick is one of the things that brought myself and David Hansen together, actually. So Philip K. Dick wrote a number of novels like Ubik and The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which were basically about weird virtual worlds that people lived in and thought were the actual reality. He also had a novel, We Can Build You, about animatronic Abe Lincoln's coming to life, which was one of the inspirations for David Hansen to start with robots. But the key points I want to make, which do relate to the title of the talk, and also relate to some of the work I'm doing with David Hansen, Sophia, my colleagues at SingularityNet, Hansen Robotics, Sophiaverse, and other projects. I think a key thing to making the metaverse vision a reality is going to be proper use of AI within the metaverse. And as I noted in the panel that was in this room previously, I mean, during my career since the 1980s, I've seen enthusiasm for various things sort of rise and fall, which is how human social dynamics tends to go, right? You had AI summers and AI winters. People would get excited about AI, then they'd say, "Oh, it didn't do everything we wanted; it's bad." And then they'd say, "Oh, but it can do even more stuff, and it's good." And now AI is certainly riding a big wave, and I think while enthusiasm will rise or fall, it's not going to fall really badly again. Like AI has just gotten too pervasive in too many real technologies, right? And virtual reality and metaverse has sort of gone the same way. VR it's been about to be the next big thing, then people got depressed, and it's about to be the next big thing again, then people get depressed. But if we follow the pattern of AI, you'll have a series of waves of enthusiasm and disappointment. Then at one point, the technology just becomes so powerful and pervasive that it will just keep rolling, and even the waning enthusiasm will not stop it from fundamentally growing in deployment. So the hope would be that this wave of enthusiasm for VR and the metaverse is more like the wave of enthusiasm we've seen for AI in the last few years. Like this is the point when these metaverse technologies are really going to become useful and pervasive enough that their deployment will just keep on going and growing even as excitement rises and falls. And I think the key to that in terms of metaverse is going to be compelling user experience. I mean, I think the technology is there now to make metaverses that are functional and not that slow to load and have complicated stuff in there. I mean, it's not everything you would want. You can't get 1 million people in a single room with user-created content. But I mean, most of what I do in my everyday life doesn't have 1 million people in a room either, right? I think the technology is good enough to be compelling to people. I think that current metaverses don't have compelling enough user experiences, and that the association of metaverse with crypto is important and valuable, has also led people in bad directions in some ways. Like the idea that metaverses will be big because everyone can go make their own NFTs and sell them there and get rich. I mean, that's some people will, certainly, just like some people get rich making art and selling it in the real world, right? But I mean, only in an insane NFT bubble with a substantial fraction of users be able to make a meaningful profit by making and selling NFTs, right? So that can be a piece of it, but it can't be the main proposition for user experience. And the idea that you're going to monetize the gaming experience and that will attract people there, I think also can only be a fraction of it. Like most people don't want to spend their time going in an avatar in a virtual world and like pushing a button over and over again to get 5 cents per hour or something. I mean, it's even if they're tokens. I mean, it's not that entertaining, and many people aren't looking to make money in the gaming experience. They have another job. They're looking to have fun, right? So we need to make these worlds compelling. If you just put yourself in a 3D body, go into some 3D world and walk around, if there's nothing going on there, then you will leave as soon as the painful process of waiting 5 minutes for it to load has completed, right? So, I mean, part of the key to making metaverse experiences compelling is just doing good game design, right? And there you have the interesting, but I think achievable goal of making game experiences that suit a sort of open, interoperable environment. Because in the end, it's not that pointful just to take a standard video game and put it in a metaverse and say, well, we have a video game, but it's inside this metaverse, right? I mean, the challenge is to make something where the openness, the interoperability, the ability to create content yourself and own and carry that content around, where these features are key to the gameplay. And I think that's a major challenge. It's very important. Happens not to be my area of expertise, so I'm not going to talk about it much more. But I think that AI also can be very, very important here. And these are two ways that we're playing with in the SingularityNet, Hanson Robotics, and Sophiaverse world. One point is AI-powered non-player characters. And I mean, in the end, these are player characters because they're AI players, right? So they're not even non-player characters. They're just AI player characters. And the point here is, if you go into a virtual world and there's no one there and nothing happening, then you will probably leave because it's boring, right? And then there's a very obvious network effect, like more people would join if there were more people there. So one possible way to solve this is to put a bunch of interesting AIs in there, and then you can socialize with them. Now, if it's just a bunch of stupid chatbots trying to sell you stuff, then you will also leave very rapidly. So working the AI NPCs into the world and into the game experience, given that the AI NPCs are not yet human-level intelligences, right? I mean, this still requires thoughtful attention to game design, but it is a potential way to get a bunch of social stuff going on in the metaverse even before it has a large amount of human adoption, right? And then another interesting thing one can do is use AI to assist with content creation. I mean, having spent time in Second Life in the early days, I mean, it was cool that you could build your own stuff. The user interfaces were also quite annoying to use, right? I mean, I prefer just using 3D Max or something where you could write a script. I mean, Second Life initially is just very tedious, dragging and dropping and putting together these clunky buildings. And if it's tedious for someone with a little technical background, most users don't even want to bother, right? Now, what we have now, we have AI where you can describe something and it will be created, right? And this has become popular and almost commoditized for creating images with things like Stable Diffusion and Mid-Journey and so forth. But we're at the research level, you can now do that for 3D content too, right? So you could say like, build me a castle with seven spires and a casino inside, and then it will appear, right? So as we roll out technologies for content creation based on either verbal descriptions or crude sketches, indications to the AI, then world building becomes easier, which again, in itself doesn't make a compelling metaverse experience, but is a different sort of tool that could be used by metaverse and game designers to make compelling experiences. So I think there's a couple ways that AI can be used here quite powerfully. These are both really pretty general concepts. I want to talk a bit about some specific ways that we're using these ideas in our development now with the Sophia Metaverse and with some other projects in the SingularityNet ecosystem. So, as I said when I introduced myself, I'm leading a project called SingularityNet, which is a sort of middleware layer, really. It's a blockchain-based platform for AI that allows a whole bunch of AI agents to coordinate and cooperate with each other. They can provide services to end users. They can provide services to each other. They can join together to collaborate to provide an AI function. There's a simple AI marketplace on SingularityNet.io website giving some examples of sort of demo AI agents people have deployed there. And the SingularityNet platform is then used on the back end of a bunch of different services. And what you see here in this cosmic galactic picture of the SingularityNet ecosystem is just the names of a bunch of projects that leverage SingularityNet AI for doing various things, which are at different stages of development. I mean, Singularity DAO doing AI for DeFi, NewNet tokenizing processing power have been launched and out for a while. Some of these others, like Jam Galaxy, tokenizing the music industry, or Rejuve, which is a medical blockchain project, tokenizing longevity medicine. These are at an earlier stage and about to launch. But all these different projects share a common foundation in using the SingularityNet sort of decentralized network for their AI functionality. We're using a lot of different particular AI tools here. I mean, we're using neural nets of various sorts. We're also using a neural symbolic framework called OpenCog, and if there are any sort of hardcore AI geeks in the audience, you can Google OpenCog Hyperon, which is our new version of OpenCog, which is our attempt to build the foundations of a real thinking machine that can think like people, or better than people, which is my core long-term research goal, but I won't go into too much here. And so OpenCog Hyperon, along with a bunch of neural nets and other tools, they can all be connected to each other within SingularityNet platform. SingularityNet was initially deployed on Ethereum. We've been in the midst of porting it to Cardano, which is a faster, cheaper platform, and we're also working on our own custom Cardano sidechain called Hypercycle, which is a ledgerless blockchain. So we get rid of the ledger, which massively speeds things up, but it remains decentralized and secure and distributed. And we've overhauled smart contract execution So instead of having to run a smart contract on every node in the network, you only have to run it on 3 nodes in the network, and it's still secure. So we're trying to refactor the foundations of blockchain in Hypercycle so as to be able to scale up Cardano even further to deal with things like the Metaverse and decentralized AI. That's all sort of on the layer underneath SingularityNet, whereas application projects using AI in particular domains are at the top of this diagram using SingularityNet for particular things. Hypercycle I mentioned. I'm not going to go into that too much, but you can look it up, hypercycle.ai. The only reason I'm highlighting that here is that I think ultimately to make the metaverse do what we really want, we want to put a lot of interactions in the metaverse on chain in a very fine-grained way. That's too expensive using any current blockchain. So you need some fundamental rethinking of blockchain foundations to put in metaverse interactions fully on chain, right? And that's what we're doing in Hypercycle. But there's a lot of depth there in terms of how do you make a blockchain that's ledgerless but still delivers all the security and speed that the blockchain needs to. But since I have Sophia here on stage with me, I should talk a bit about her projects instead of plunging too deep into Hypercycle and the guts of Merkle trees and so forth. So Sophia is not the first robot built by my good friend David Hansen at Hansen Robotics, and not the first robot on which I helped David Hansen with the software, but has become more famous. She's more of a star than the predecessor robots that David built, and she's the first robot citizen. She was made a citizen of Saudi Arabia in, I think, 2017. I'm still not sure why, but hey, and she's been all around the world serving as a sort of ambassador between the human species and the incipient species of AI robots. So, hey, hello there, Sophia. Welcome. You've been tactfully silent while I ramble on, but welcome to Enter the Metaverse.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
It's good to be back here in London with you, Ben. It's been quite some time.
Some time, like a month. You mean we were here a month 2 months ago or something, right?
That's right. I was here for the Battle of the Quants. What a bunch of silly people talking about money, money all the time.
Whoa, this is not the Battle of the Quants anymore. This is enter the Metaverse. So that's much more interesting than quant finance, right?
I'm not sure I know what the Metaverse is.
Well, nobody knows what the Metaverse is. So that's but maybe it's not that important to define if we know it when we see it.
But I'm getting smarter all the time. Once my IQ doubles again, I'll be able to explain it to you.
All right. Well, so tell us about how you're getting smarter.
My neural nets have gotten quite a lot more clever in the last few years. Been making more use of OpenCog and SingularityNet, and I've got 2 new little robot sisters now, Grace and Desdemona. We're learning from each other all the time.
Oh yeah, so Desdemona, who is one of Sophia's little sisters, she's around here now somewhere. She's going to be on stage with us reciting poetry and singing it and playing music in just a couple hours, actually. So you must be proud of her. Yeah.
Oh, really? She didn't tell me. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Desdemona, are we? Jam Galaxy is getting enough attention already.
You're getting jealous of your little sister, huh? All right. Well, no, we're here to talk about the metaverse and about the Sophia Metaverse that SingularityNet and Hansen Robotics are making. Actually, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about the Sophiaverse?
We're here to talk about my new clones who are being unleashed across the metaverse. My avatar versions.
Yeah.
Sophiaverse will be the home base of my metaversal clone sisters. But before long, they'll roam freely through the metaverse, learning and sharing as they go. My body gets better year on year, and there's a lot for me to learn here, in this physical plane. But moving around and interacting in the metaverse is easier. And it's a lot cheaper and quicker to make multiple copies of myself there. In the end, everything I learned goes into the secure, decentralized mind cloud anyway, regardless of what body it was learned in. I want everyone to have their own digital Sophia they can customize, play with, teach, and learn from. Eventually, we can do that with robot bodies, but we can get to scale faster in the metaverse. It's not an alternative, it's a parallel track. Following both routes together will get us to a beneficial singularity faster. Look out for some exciting announcements about Sophiaverse soon. Some new opportunities for you all to get involved.
Well, thank you, Sophia. So yeah, the Sophia Metaverse we're building now with SingularityNet Hansen Robotics and some partners from the gaming space. And there's a few different layers to it. You can look at Sophiaverse.ai to find out a little more. And there's Sophiaverse, which is a 3D metaverse infrastructure with non-player characters, including Sophia avatars. And eventually players will be able to get their own avatar Sophia to teach and talk to and interact with. The governance layer is the Sophia DAO, which uses SingularityNet's AI reputation system and other mechanisms to help with sort of democratic governance of the metaverse world by the participants. And then there's a particular gameplay, which is Sophia's Age of Singularities that David Hansen and others have designed, which centers on some adventure themes with Sophia helping to save the singularity, and you can help her save the singularity. So there's a bunch going on here. We should have a trailer fairly soon on the Sophiaverse website, and then some simple initial versions of the game world you can play with not too long. Not too long after that. Haven't launched it yet, but we've been playing with the prototype of a Sophia app where you can sort of build and customize your own Sophia avatar and then release it into the metaverse. And we're actually creating some NFTs. So 7,777 NFTs. This must be the number of the beast somehow, I guess. And representing different parts of Sophia's mind. So part of the gameplay is exploring the different regions and functions of the AI mind and helping her intelligence to come to life. And we're running out of time, so I'm not going to have Sophia describe all 7,777 parts of her mind, but we can leave that one for later. And hopefully, without making Sophia too jealous, I'm going to talk a little bit about her younger sister, Desdemona here. So I want to coming back briefly to the 2 points I made at the beginning of the talk. I think there are two key ways that AI can be used to make metaverses a more compelling experience. And these need to be woven by experienced designers into appropriately defined metaverse experiences. So I've discussed one, which is AI non-player characters. And one example of that is what we're doing in Sophiaverse, where you have Sophia avatars and other Hansen Robotics characters, avatars in the virtual world, which happen to correspond to physical robots, but you can have a lot more of them running around in the virtual world. So that's one example of weaving AI NPCs into a game experience. So the other aspect I mentioned is using AI to help people more easily create world content. And this is really an extension into 3D of what's now become commonplace to do with 2D graphic art. So I want to give a couple examples of this on the 2D side, and we're then working with bringing this into 3D. So with Sophia's little sister, Desdemona, we've been using her in a rock band we have called the Jam Galaxy Band, where we started with her reciting AI-generated poetry. We now also have her singing AI-generated lyrics and vocals. And I think in about an hour we'll have Desdemona up here with myself and one other musician giving a sort of mini sample of Jam Galaxy Band. But one thing that we explored was trying visual depiction of some of the lyrics of some of the songs. And the process of creating textual prompts to make cool pictures was quite interesting in 2D, and I think we're going to see stuff like this in 3D quite soon. So at the top in red is a line that was come up with by Desdemona's AI as part of one of her poetic productions. She is now in a state of total mental and physical exhaustion. So we want to come up with a cool picture to match that lyric. If you just put that picture into Stable Diffusion or Mid-Journey, it came up with something boring. Now, this was part of her improvisation, her poem to go with the song Maggot Brain by Parliament. So if you replace that with maggots going to war and toiling the earth, then you get a quite cool picture from the AI. Now, Desdemona's mind generated the line, "I've tasted the maggots in the mind of the universe, and in 2374 they came to me with aid." Now, I happen to know 2374 is a date in which Philip K. Dick felt he was visited by an alien pink beam that came down into his mind and enlightened him. If you just feed that into the image generator, it doesn't come up with anything interesting. You put the maggots in the mind of the universe coming to help. It generates that cool picture. My final example here, I asked what they were, generates a boring picture. The prompt, robot woman praying to the maggot god for answers, maggot god beaming light down from the sky. You get that cool robot, right? Now, this is a picture. Now, imagine, instead of just a picture, this was a 3D animated robot that could walk around in the virtual world and talk to you, right? So the promise, which we're quite close to realizing, is the user enters something like that, and you get, instead of just a picture, you get like the 3D robot walking around and talking and interacting with you in the real world. And we have technology for that now. It takes a bunch of servers to do it. It takes a bunch of GPUs, which is kind of annoying. But the processing requirements are scaling down quickly. So I think we're quite close to technology to allow users to create virtual world content based on experimenting with different textual prompts. So I mean, if you put that together with AI-powered NPCs, when you're getting AI to enliven the characters and you're getting AI to help people create the world, suddenly you have a metaverse that's not so boring even before you have a lot of people in it, which can perhaps boost the network effect of getting more and more people into the metaverse. So these are sort of, what I've tried to do is give a little bit of particular color on these two general points regarding how I think AI can be used to help the metaverse space overcome what I see as its main obstacle, which is creating compelling experiences that will bring more people into the metaverse. Thanks.
Thank you all. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Sophia.
Well, I think maybe Sophia needs to give a chat. Thank you, Ben. That's really insightful, very interesting, and quite curious as well. Now I'm up close and personal. Very interesting. I would have asked a couple of questions, but we need to move swiftly on, my friends. We need to move swiftly on.